It's been so long since I've played an Xbox game, let alone be excited for one. But after that recent developer direct, I heard everyone raving about this new action game that shadow dropped and was supposed to be like a fresh take on the genre. Now if you've been on the channel, you know I've covered a decent number of these games already, so a new game that actually mixes things up will be a pleasant break away from the regular old hack and slash Souls-like formulas that everyone is doing these days. So today I want to take a deeper look into HiFi Rush to see if this game is just as good as everyone says, or if it's just nothing but hype. You play as the music-loving wannabe rock star Chai, who signed up for Project Armstrong to get a robotic replacement for his broken arm. But obviously Chai just wants to be a rock star and be able to play guitar, so that's his reason for going into this project. This whole thing turns into a wild ride because his procedure accidentally fuses his MP3 player into his heart and makes him into a rhythmic machine with a magnetic arm. He's seen as a defect as the entire company works to eliminate him in any way possible. And along the way, you meet characters like Peppermint, Macaron, and Cinnamon who help you progress through each of the insane levels. And I love the addition of these characters mainly because they're actually interesting, like Macaron being the big and bulky guy that you'd expect just to smash stuff, but instead he's a gentle and smart guy who is also big, bulky, and smashes stuff. I also like Cinnamon, who doesn't add much to the game, but the way he expresses emotions is totally hilarious and some excellent character design. And then there's Peppermint, who has a decent amount of plot behind her too. And I don't mean the Rule 34 plot either, although I'm sure there's plenty of that. There's so much thought that went into creating these characters, even if most of them are just named after a food of some kind. But for a story that supposedly takes place in the span of a few hours, it's interesting to watch their relationships grow and evolve. By the end of it all, you start to really feel like this gang of misfits is more like a family. There's even a lot of fun that went into developing the other characters and robots around you.
Oh wow, did you fix the node? You saved my job. Thank you!
There's so many jokes that are just put in plain sight, with many of them making you want to look for more secrets and gags hidden throughout.
Hey everyone, check this out! I'm moving like one of those old Vandalay units. So old school. He's been doing this for hours. Yeah, but we've been watching this for hours.
And every level gets you closer to defeating that stage's boss that is brimming with a lot of personality. Like for example, Zanzo, who is basically a JoJo character.
Something with unrestricted creative freedom!
Because what else could a dude looking like that possibly be than an enemy stand user? But that just adds on to how these developers made more of a passion project rather than just a cash grab. The art style uses cell shading, which matches up so well with the cartoony cinematics. It's cool when the gameplay seamlessly transitions from gameplay in the cutscene and you can barely tell the difference. Like when you're in the middle of the second boss's level and you get punched into a totally different area just because you can't continue without getting a new ability. And it's little things like this that give the game so much personality and humor. In a world where a lot of these games have this dark and brooding style, it's a really nice change of pace seeing something more colorful and vibrant. And we'll talk more about games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta later, but there is a stark contrast in those aesthetics compared to HiFi Rush. Even when those games take more stylish and funny and quirky approaches to the dialogue and the plot, you're mostly meted with these dark areas, dark enemies, dark allies, dark dungeons, dark everything. I'd say it's almost become a standard to have these games be more mature in ways like that, which gets kinda stale. Then we have HiFi Rush stepping in with more than just a darkened color palette and prove that you can have the combat and the depth without looking like the darkest corner of a hot topic. Everything here is based on the concept of rhythm and keeping the beat. The world around you will move in time with the beat, enemies will attack you to the beat, and even your movement is in time with the beat. Speaking of which, it kinda concerned me that there's not really a way to run in this game, but it does make a lot of sense since everything does stick to the beat. So as you walk, you can only walk to the beat. Even during cutscenes, all of the movements are synced up to match the music that's playing. Each time you jump in to play the next level, you'll feel yourself slowly falling into a trance from every song that plays. It pushes you to vibe along with the tracks, which ends up being a great help when you start getting into the more complicated parts. And this game doesn't just use music, it revolves around the music. I can see the devs tailoring everything in the game to each and every track that was placed in here. And my goodness, are there some bangers in this soundtrack. At first, I thought the rhythm mechanic would be a gimmick that makes the game less fun and more complicated, and I was wrong since it feels totally natural. HiFi Rush makes a really good use of the music-based combat without it feeling too cumbersome. I've seen people argue saying that it's limiting that you need to attack on the beat, but there isn't a harsh limit on that. Because they grade each level based on your time combos and hitting the beats on time, it's nice to rack up as much as you can. But even if you're an impatient button masher like some of us tend to be at times, you can do that without a problem. It's not like playing Guitar Hero where you lose if you miss too many beats, but instead it acts as a challenge to do a good performance. Jumping, dodging, and doing combos on beat will reward you with a higher ranking, but also deal bonus damage on each hit. So no, it's not required to be frame perfect with all your button presses. The early stages walk you through pretty slow, so by the time you get to the first boss, you're ready to go. With the soundtrack always bumping in the background, you'll end up catching on well with all the timing of your movements. And that's even when you get into the more complicated combos. Things do get a little bit more spicy when they add more techniques into the mix, but it's never too complicated. And believe me, my gameplay doesn't do it justice enough, but just go to Twitter and check out the combo god himself, Sunhee. And just by watching his video, you will get an idea of just how amazing this rhythm system really is. Adding in the partners and the upgrades you can equip, everything turns into a rewarding challenge. You'll get rewards for almost everything that you do with the right timing, like jumping and dodging to the beat. And that even extends to the post game, where you can take on even more challenges and unlock areas that you couldn't reach before. In my first playthrough, it was tough getting enough gears to buy all the upgrades that are available, so this is a good game for those who want a replay value. And I think it would even be fun going for higher scores after learning about the flow and timing of combat. Again, you're not punished for messing up, but given more incentive to keep going for those better grades. But one key person who made this game into the masterpiece that it is was Masaki Yamada. He's the lead designer who worked on games like Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta, and The Evil Within. So it's clear that he's experienced with how these action-packed games should be done. I see a lot of influence from Devil May Cry just with the combo systems put in place. There's lots of chaining together your combos with aerial raves, parries, and dodges. Not to mention utilizing your partners with the right timing to pull off a team attack, and also working towards you getting the best style ranking that you possibly can. In a way, this feels a lot more like the beginner-friendly action title, or as some might call it, baby's first DMC. Games like Devil May Cry are known for having those difficulties that whip your ass into shape and make you learn the right timing through a lot of trial, error, and retries. But HiFi Rush has an approach that is much more easy to understand in comparison. Even if I've played tons of games like it before, I can't lie and say I'm a master at it. Sometimes I mash, and other times I just screw up my parries. At the end of the day, practice does make perfect, but I'd rather move on to another game than to beat combos into my brain all day. So going into HiFi Rush and just vibing with the music as you fight felt like it wasn't holding your hand, but instead it made the right way to play into the best way to play. I learned how to be more patient and be more flowy with my moves, just like the game wanted me to do. Even if all you're doing is pressing the attack button to the beat, it gets you so much more comfortable with doing combos. When certain songs came on, I got so into the beat that I felt like I couldn't possibly lose. It's that feeling of hype that I love about games like this, and I can see it happening even during a second, third, or fourth playthrough. It's something that I deeply appreciate about the game design. I never expected this to be exciting in so many ways, and this is coming from a title that was shadow dropped. But I'm shocked to say that this may end up being one of my favorite games of the year. It's a great experience that feels like a lot of heart went into it. Something that's sadly become a lot more rare these days. So kudos to Tango Gameworks for putting all of this greatness together, and I really hope that more people get their hands on this experience soon. By the way, it is on Game Pass, so you could definitely play it on there if you just want to put out the 10 bucks. But if you've played HiFi Rush, tell me your thoughts about it in the comments. I've seen plenty of people on Twitter saying it's a little overhyped, but I gotta disagree with that one. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next video.